Thanks so much. All right, I'll go ahead and get started. I want to say good evening to everybody. If you're joining us for the first time or returning, welcome and welcome back. We begin each of our stakeholder working group meetings with a few housekeeping items. I'm going to run through those really quickly. We can go ahead and go to the next slide. Thank you. Should I wait for it to pop back up, I guess, or is it showing? Okay. This is a webinar. The panelists you see are members of the Stakeholder Working Group and BTA staff that are working on this project. Everyone is using their real name so you can identify us easily. We cannot see our audience, your faces, but we know you're there. We're able to see you on the list. And so I want to thank you for attending this evening's meeting. And we are recording this meeting. A copy of this recording will be posted on our BTA YouTube channel, and we have a quick access link on the project webpage that is located on bta.org. I will repeat this information at the end of the meeting. Audience, your microphones are muted. And also our panelists, we do keep our microphones muted to help cut back on background noise. During the discussion, we can open your mics momentarily to speak up. And audience too, you can raise your hand. I will pause occasionally, throughout to check in, make sure the panelists, get people talking, and also audience, we can take your questions. Next slide. Thank you. We recognize that this, everyone has a different experience and perspective, and that the project has impacts that will be felt differently depending on where you live or where you work in the area or how you travel through the area. And these meetings are designed for a healthy discussion to inform each other and address project progress, collaborate on outreach, and work through your questions or concerns that you may have. What remains paramount is that we treat each other respectfully. And in the next slide, thank you. If you are new to the group, so I do repeat things a lot to make sure people, when I have new folks on either on the stakeholder working group or in the audience, just want to make sure you understand that keeping the community informed is our top priority, especially as we gear up and during construction. In 2020, the Eastridge to BART Regional Connector Policy Advisory Board, which is made up of council members from District 5 and 8 and our county supervisors. So I should say council members right now, Candelas and Ortiz, and then our county supervisors, Chavez and Arias, make up that policy advisory board. The 2020 board had requested that the staff develop a stakeholder working group to serve as project liaisons in the community. The criteria for the nominees that were selected by the policy advisory board was to focus on community that will be most directly impacted by the construction. And the nominees must live or work within half a mile from the project alignment and or represent a group or organization that is focused specifically on issues within that half mile. The nominees cannot be elected officials or work directly with an elected official that represents the city of San Jose or Santa Clara County. And they cannot have a conflict of interest in relation to the project in the following areas of property if they own property in the area, or, and by property we mean, property that would be impacted by this, whether it was a right-of-way acquisition or some kind of like a public benefit in that sense. And then also can't be a VTA vendor or consultant or contractor. Okay, next. Told you I'm going to try to get through those first few slides really fast. We follow a really simple agenda. We have a quick roll call. We introduce the stakeholder working group members and staff that are attending this evening. And we will review what was covered when we last met, which was 6 months ago. And when we do that, we go over past, current, and upcoming outreach for the project. Ben is going to share current project activities with an update on funding and schedule. And I don't want to steal his thunder, but now that the project is fully funded, we want to address what to expect and what you will see once a contractor begins construction. And we have new displays that were developed to help explain the construction activities. And we look forward to your feedback. And I want to make sure that we're not a talking head all evening, that we leave plenty of time for open discussion. Any topics that are not covered, please let us know that you'd like us to bring it back to the committee or the working group, and or if you want something repeated, just let us know, and we can do that. We have 90 minutes this evening. This is your time, and we can end early. I will not keep you late. Next one. So at this point, we'll do a quick roll call. And I think panelists, you're all able to unmic yourself. So I will just go through alphabetically. I'll just call you so you can say if you're here. And if you have any news or community updates you would like to share, please take this opportunity. If you prefer to wait until later on in the meeting, that is okay too. I'll go ahead and I'll start with Laura.
Hi, this is Laura Rechica from Welch Park.
Thank you, Laura. Ernesto, are you here this evening? I don't see him. Okay. Huascar, welcome.
Hi, everyone. Oscar Castro, Working Partnerships USA. Thank you for having me here today.
Thank you for joining us. Huascar is new to our group. Craig, are you here this evening? Like flipping back and forth real quick, up and down the windows here. I don't see Craig. Craig, I know he's been traveling a lot. I get these emails like, oh, I'm here, I'm going here. Sandy, are you here this evening? I don't see her. Julie.
Hello, everybody. I hope you're having a nice evening.
We're together. John Peterson. John's not here. Okay. You know, I think this is okay. Well, anyway, we're getting close to summer. People are taking off. And Andre, yay.
Hi, sorry.
I'm like, I know he's here.
I'm here. Yes, Andres from the Brahms Education Neighborhood Association.
Great. I'm Kathleen. We can go to the next one. Thanks. So I didn't introduce myself on purpose because I end up always doing this like 3 times then. So I'm Kathleen Podrosky. I'm a supervisor at BTA's Community Outreach and Public Engagement Group. We are growing our outreach team and preparing for a time when this project is really active to ensure coverage in the community. And so with that, I think most of you know David. If you want to say hello, David.
Hello, everyone. David Lovato, Public Communications Specialist.
And I want to say David has been leading outreach on the utility coordination with the private properties, mainly our businesses that crews are working in front of, or in some cases on the properties. And while the utility owners such as AT&T or Comcast, PG&E are responsible for notification of their activities, we are also involved with direct coordination with the property owners, and David has been leading that effort. And I'd like to introduce to you Anthony Lopez. He is new to our team.
Hello, everyone. My name is Anthony Lopez. Yes, I'm a public communications specialist working with Kathleen on the outreach team. Very excited to be here. I'm actually a resident of the area. I've been living here for close to 30 years. So it's a pleasure to join this call, and I look forward to getting to know everyone a little better.
Thank you, Anthony. And Ben Prasad, he's our project manager.
Hello, everyone. Ben Prasad, project manager. You know me for the last couple of years. So very excited to have this project going forward for construction.
Thank you. And we have Ken Ronci, our Deputy Director of Rail and Facilities.
Good evening. Welcome. I'm glad to be here. Ken Ronci. I work with Kathleen and with Ben and the others, and you'll start to hear tonight some of the details about what you will be encountering and what we'll be working with you in the field to make sure that you're informed and that you're aware of what we're doing and that you have a voice in how we implement the work.
All righty, thank you. And let me just go back to this. All right, so let's go. Oh, and I just want to mention, you might, for some of you who you've been coming to these meetings regularly, Hassan Basma has moved off of this project to project manage a few other activities that BTA has going on. All righty, so our last meeting was 6 months ago, so I'll give a quick review here. It is a lot, but I will go quickly as I can here. Our last meeting was 6 months ago. In that meeting, we reviewed all the subjects that we have been covering since the inception of this group 2 years ago. We began with understanding what we are building, that we are extending light rail from Alum Rock Station to the Eastridge Transit Center with an aerial guideway that runs mainly through the middle of Capitol Expressway. It includes a station at Story Road that will be accessed via pedestrian crossing that you can access with the options of stairs or elevators. And there's a ground level station at Eastridge. We have discussed the history of the project, the phases of what has been implemented, like the pedestrian improvements of sidewalks, lighting, and trees along Capitol Expressway, followed by the reconstruction of the Eastridge Transit Center. And excuse me. And then this project was first identified, I should have started with that. It was first identified in the 2000 Measure A proposal, and over the years has seen many design changes. We have been building on discussions of impacts of construction to traffic on Capitol Expressway, including permanent and temporary changes of the expressway. Then there is we've talked about traffic, noise, and vibration caused by construction activities and how we plan to mitigate such impacts. Mitigate doesn't mean it goes away. It means that we have looked at methods and measures to reduce the overall impact. We have reviewed how we will provide outreach to the community, and we haven't waited for construction. We've been talking about it and trying to get people ready. And each meeting that we've been holding we've been sharing activities to date what we've done out in the public. And this group has especially been a conduit to the introductions to a lot of the neighborhood associations and groups and the events that we have participated in, from tabling at community events, back to school functions, neighborhood and business association meetings. We have been able to share project information and connect the community together. I would say this group and the staff, we have really developed a good foundation to grow on as this project moves forward. Each of our discussions has been built on the last one, so you can see and understand why we have to do things like close lanes or have overnight street closures for specific activities. And it's been important to show you how long activities will occur, especially when we begin pile driving at each location, things that are really noisy and impactful. We have gone over sequencing of the project, and you were shown that the activities are going to be taking place end to end from Alum Rock to Eastridge. And to repeat things that you might have heard Ken say a few times, is that this is not a sprint, it is a marathon. We have had guest speakers to present future or next generation light rail technology and the station art enhancement program. Regarding changes to the project, we have had in-depth conversations about how the project has changed since its original inception. And one of the changes that occurred in 2014 was ABT Board of Directors' decision to remove a proposed station at Ocala. And this has led to several community leaders, VTA and Supervisor Chavez, who has a dual role of vice chair of VTA's Board of Directors, to have meetings regarding public transportation service and potential solutions for this area. And I'm going to come back to that in a couple of slides. Remember, we were talking about this, our last meeting was 6 months ago, and I'm just reviewing that, not rehearsing. We've been providing project updates to funding and schedule and current utility activities. And that pretty much sums up the review of our August meeting. And before I move on to any current activities, do we have any questions or comments from the panel or audience? I'll do a quick pause. Okay, next slide, please.
Well, I
Oh.
should have raised my hand. My
Oh,
apologies.
thanks. Yeah.
I think it sounds like you're gonna dive into some changes around the Ocala station later in the agenda.
I'm going to address it. It's not changing, but I will address that.
Yeah. Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
No problem. And maybe Huascar, there's a long history there, and I can always meet with you separately too, just to catch you up on a lot of that.
Totally, absolutely. Whatever's helpful for the entire group. Thanks.
Sure. Okay, so last fall, we participated in community events such as National Night Out and a few back to school events that were held over at Catherine Smith Elementary, Gost Auburn, and Aptitude Academy. And I love doing the table events. It's a great way to connect with the community and share information versus kind of like the presentation style. In January, we held 2 community meetings to introduce the artists that have been selected for the new stations. We introduced Laura Haddad and Tom Drugan. They're an artist team, and they are going to be enhancing the Eastridge station with art. And Amir Fala is the artist that was selected for the Story Road station. The meeting on January 9th was, we held 2 actually. So the meeting on January 9th was facilitated in English by myself and Mary Rubin, and it had Spanish and Vietnamese interpreters. And then the meeting on the 11th was facilitated in Spanish. I think everyone used the English channel on that one. I think a couple of people stayed with our facilitator. We're going to repeat that again for the next, when we do the art concept meetings. And the purpose of those meetings was to introduce the artist and see examples and share examples with the community of past work that they have produced for other public commissions. And what was more important was for artists to get to know you, the community, and learn about you. And these meetings have been recorded and are available for your review, as well as a copy of the presentation. I'm sorry, my grandfather's trying to call me. Here we go. I'll call him back. The one meeting on the 9th, we forgot to hit the record button. And so we did have to re-record that as a webinar. And we do have that available for you. At the meetings, I introduced Mural app. That was to facilitate a guided discussion. And the images on the right are, they show the final sticky board, basically. It was a virtual sticky board where people were able to put in their answers to the guided questions that we asked. So we asked on this online activity, we asked community participants to respond to 4 questions. One is a 2-part question. What neighborhood are you connected to? And what is important for us to know about it? Another one was to think about a place that is special to you in San Jose. Describe that spot. Why did you choose it? Another was to provide 3 words describing what is important to you personally or what symbolizes your community. And another was, what is one of your favorite public artworks in San Jose or anywhere, and why? Tell us about it. So these meetings provided an opportunity for the artists to learn about the community and for meeting participants. Meeting participants represented a wide variety of the East San Jose neighborhoods. And some of the answers when asked about a place that is special in San Jose, we heard about the foothills, the greenery, the views, and about the Mexican Heritage Plaza, and Alum Rock Park, and Eastridge Mall, Mark's Hot Dogs, Emma Prush Farm. They were all over. It was beautiful. It was really neat to see that richness. So the public responses really provided the artists with a good sense of the community and really articulated the richness of the community. Okay, next slide. Thank you. So since then, I'm going to address this a little bit more now. So VTA, so what's been going on in addition to the art, VTA staff, including our general manager, are continuing to work with Supervisor Chavez and Eastside leaders addressing community concerns of transportation service stemming from a proposed station at Ocala that was deleted by the VTA Board of Directors in 2014, and options for improving transit connections at the capital Ocala area. We understand the initial want is to have a station brought back into the design. And I'm just going to keep the summary of this at a really high level. We've had 3 meetings in December, April, and earlier this month in May. And these meetings have been to hear and understand the community concerns about transportation and the future of their community, and all the considerations that the board of directors that deliberated on that led to their decision. All the reports and information that the board received to make that decision were shared with the Eastside Leaders Group. And no questions are off the table. However, the project is going to go forward as planned. There's not going to be we're not constructing a station at Ocala. There are proposals, however, to go forward with one is to consider a microtransit pilot project for East San Jose. And Supervisor Chavez at the board of directors meeting on the 4th did put a referral in at the board. And microtransit is a technology enabled public transit service that uses small vehicles like a shuttle or a van, not a large bus, to provide passengers with an on-demand service using a smartphone application. And the referral is to implement a microtransit pilot program for the Eastridge community, and that it would include an analysis on ridership and frequent stop locations to help inform about the program. And there's a lot of things to consider. One is possible development at the Reed Hillview Reed Hillview Airport. It was a referral, so it hasn't gone to a board discussion yet, but she has started that foundation. And I'm going to pause here, see if anybody wants to add anything or ask a question. I can I can try to elaborate, or not. Just let me know. I'm looking for hands. I don't see hands. Oscar, see your hand now.
Yeah, I think my only less of a question, more of an ask is that we be updated on the ongoings of that referral. For example, if that's going to be going to any committees or policy advisory boards and ultimately the board of directors, it'll be great to kind of be plugged into that process and understand how that's going. I guess I do have a question. Is there any further more robust outreach that that y'all are planning on conducting on this, or is any further actions going to be taking place through any part of the process of the referral that Supervisor Chavez put forth?
So yeah, so part of the referral did include community outreach related to this project. But until it goes forward, I don't have any outreach. Does that make sense? And
Yes,
until
yes.
something, a discussion or decision is
Totally,
made. And
totally, yes.
and I don't know what the agenda for, we have a policy advisory board meeting on June 14th. That was kind of towards my end slide, but I can talk about that now. I don't know what the agenda is. I would hope that that's talked about. So I would definitely encourage all of you to attend if it works out, if you can fit in that in your schedule.
Absolutely. And so it sounds like as far as timeline, we're still unsure as to when that discussion is going to be agendized and as what space that's going to happen.
Correct.
Got it. Thank you.
And Andres?
Yeah, Kathleen, you mentioned something about Reedville View airports. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
So yeah, so not part of this project, but here's what I do know. I do know the county has put forth a request, they want to close the airport in 2031. And then what, right? So I'm here, I've gone to the community meetings, not VTA meetings, but other, like the community meeting. I know people want to see it developed. I know people want to see housing there. And so I know the overall dream is to have that area developed and it could be very vibrant. And I know the county and the city are looking at other lands surrounding the area, like Eastridge Mall, the golf course. So, but there aren't any, proposals that have been put forward. But but they are thinking ahead of, like, hey, this could get developed. This is going to change things, right? And that would also change transportation needs.
Thank you.
And I'm going to try to go in order. I think Ken was next.
Yeah, Kathleen, I was just going to add that part of the referral that Member Chavez made was that any of the discussions that involve the airport potential future development, that there would be a seat at the table for VTA in order to ensure that there was a good transit connection, because part of the challenge is that without having a developer proposal, it's hard to determine where would a potential connection be. What would it look like? What would be the the best way to integrate that, and that the developer would have a role in coordinating the best transit connection. And so part of the referral was to make sure that VTA was at the table and that transit was a key element in that planning and implementation. So what that means is that the county has agreed to evaluate a future development once the commitment to no longer take federal funds for the FHA or FFA. FAA, thank you. And that they would, as they start to establish what would be potential improvements, that transit would be a key component of that. And so it really was a commitment to ensure that transit stays a key element, but it did not be independent, that it truly be integrated into that development. And so that was actually part of the referral that Member Chavez made.
To the VTA board, or did she, because the micro transit was to the VTA board. Did she
Correct.
do the one, did she talk about the county one? Was that at a board of directors?
Yeah,
Or was
yeah.
that
So at one of our board meetings,
it wasn't VTA board, it was board of directors.
no, it was at a the referral was to a VTA board that was that we would be the referral was that the VTA staff would work with county staff and make sure that they had a seat at the table. So I would hope that she would make the same type of commitment at the county board, but the
Yeah,
referral.
okay. I missed that part then. I only had caught the
Yeah.
microtransit one. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. And Oscar, your hand is up.
Yeah, just because Working Parts has been pretty involved with the campaign around Reed Hillview, and so happy to kind of provide a little bit of context, fully knowing that the agency is probably pretty coordinated with the county on these actions. But 2031 is kind of the clearest timeline as to when when closure could happen. But based on some actions back in 2021. With the lead study, there is active conversations with petitioning the FAA for early closure based on certain engagement findings. So that timeline is still up in the air. I think it's still long-term is fair, but as far as 2031 seems like the clearest date. There might be something before, and I know that many folks that are on the same roster that are here are also involved in that work too, and I'm sure there's some different discussions around what sort of envisioning process, community-based stakeholder engagement, where VTA definitely needs to be a part of that conversation takes place.
Yeah. Thank you. It looks like there's a hand up on the attendee side. I can't tell whose hand is up right now, but let me scooch this over a little bit and I can see. It's Nathan. Nathan, I'm going to unmute you. Okay, you should be unmuted.
Hey, Kathleen, can you hear me?
Yes, you're good.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you for this meeting tonight. We work in this community, and I think you know that, and thank you for attending one of the board meetings, the TREBA board meetings, to discuss this a little further. It's more on the side of microtransit and some other initiatives that are happening in the east side. I just want to be sure that as we're looking at this comprehensively, that we're addressing other things that are happening simultaneously. Obviously DOT, but beyond that, and without going too deep into that realm of the discussion, what's the ETA on the microtransit? Say it goes through. In my past life, it was very successful. We did a very similar pilot with the area councils of government up there, and it was successful with the intent that we were trying to accommodate transit and first and last mile and so forth to the bigger public transit agencies. That said, timeline and what are we thinking? How are we going to promote this, and et cetera? I'm just curious from the perspective of our East Side community.
No, that's a really good question. Supervisor Chavez has asked for a timeline. Our planning staff is putting one together, or scenarios of how it could, like, how it's going to go. So for example, we currently have 2 microtransit pilots happening, one with Morgan Hill, one with Milpitas. And they are being funded by Measure B, which VTA manages those funds. And so it's through a grant proposal. And when they started it, they already had everything planned out. So one of the things that Cindy had talked about at one of our last meetings with the East Side leaders was, council members Candelas and Ortiz were there, was, she was glad they're there because the city, if we were to follow the exact same model as Milpitas and Morgan Hill, the city would actually put together the plan, the microtransit plan, and provide a program for, to be evaluated and potentially funded by Measure B funds. I think that's the best way to put it. But our planning department is going to okay, it could be that way. Would VTA lead something like that? We have to look at also we are a union environment. All of our operators are union, so we have to do, we couldn't do something that would work against our own staff, if that makes sense. So no timeline yet. And actually we are meeting in a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, I think. Maybe that's when we'll have a timeline. I don't know yet, but I think it's going to be, I think we're going to see a variety of timelines.
Perfect, thank you. And you answered my question about fiscal sustainability, how's it going to be maintained, et cetera. So perfect, thank you.
Okay. All right, anyone else? I'll go. Okay, I'm going to go on. Let's see, where did we leave off here? Okay, so what's coming up? We're going to have more art meetings. So we were supposed to have one last evening, and we had a horrible glitch with our printer, and I wasn't aware of it until way too late in the game. I thought people already received notices, and I get a call from our printer that, yeah, we're going to have this out next week. I'm like, that's after the meeting. What the? So I really appreciate. I had support with District 8 to just hold off. Let's do the meeting right. You know, I want to get that notice out before the meeting, not after the meeting, and provide way more lead time for our printers. They were citing backlog in work, citing and not being able to get paper. It just, and I started to rely on soft notification, you know, like the emails and shared notifications, but really that's just not right when you're working in a community that not everybody has a computer, not everybody has internet. So we are postponing it, but we did get a new date confirmed. We're going to look at the Eastridge Station concept on August 31st. Literally got the dates today. And then after I put the slide together, about an hour before I left the office, I got the Story Road date, which will be September 13th. So we will put out a notice for both of those way in advance, because in a way, I'm kind of glad it happened this way, because now we can have them close together. Originally, it was going to be Eastridge last night and Story in September. This way, I think it builds a little more momentum. We're going to do one, 2 weeks later, come back to the other. And what you will see is what the artists have conceived for each of the stations and how they've used the information that they learned about the community and their own research and how they weave that into their project design. So we're going to do similar to the last meeting. We're going to do a meeting in English with Spanish and Vietnamese interpreters, and then I'll have one facilitated in Spanish. And we're going to do each meeting on the same night. So one will be at 6 o'clock, one will be at 7:15. And then I'll follow that same format. So let's see what else. Please stay involved, because that part is really fun. The construction part is not always easy to talk about. It can be rough on people, and so it's fun to have the art a little more. It's a little lighter. Let's see, what else can I tell you about? I talked about that. We had a press conference on April 24th. That was about closing the funding gap. We received a $46 million grant from the Transit and Intercity Rail Capital Program, and Ben's going to elaborate on that. I just had to share, these are some of the events that have happened. Coming up, there is National Night Out. We'll be at one of the parks, probably Emma Prush or Welch. I'll have to find out which one I can get a table at. And I have already booked Catherine Smith Elementary for back to school night on August 18th. I do see that both of the council members have the summer park series. I'm going to try to see if we can table at some of those events. And if any of you have events coming up or that you know of, please definitely let us know. And then in the fall, I want to get on the neighborhood association agendas. And Nathan, I'd love to come back to the Tully Road Association, because it was a really good meeting. It was a good connection. And yeah, because what's happening, all the stuff that we've been talking about the last 2 years, it's becoming real, right? We're getting ready to move forward. And so now these discussions are really important, that people are prepared. And that's why we've been building up our outreach team, so we can divide and get out there and make sure we hit all the groups that are out there. Okay, I think that's it for that slide. I think you, did you already do the, okay. Can you go back one slide actually, David? Thank you. So I just want to share again, we do have a project page. I told you I'm going to repeat this a lot. With VTA.org, Eastridge to BART, it provides a running list of notices, links to the recorded meetings, environmental documents, and then that square on the very right, that is where I try to encourage people to please sign up for stakeholder emails. To kind of give you a scope, we do a mailing that's about a half mile on either side of the alignment. So the whole 2.5 miles down, which reaches about 12,000 businesses and residents. And on my stakeholder email only has about 800. And those are the folks that are saying, I want to hear from you. We do post on Nextdoor. And so those are the people that, when they check their email, they do get it. But when you sign up for a stakeholder email, that means you will get project notifications. And the other one to sign up for too is our policy advisory board. So you get notifications of the meetings and the agendas. Okay, I'll stop here. And if there aren't any more questions, I'm going to hand this over to Ben.
Thank you, Kathleen. So
Yeah.
can you see my background here? This is how it's going to look at Story Road when the project is complete. So it's the double arch bridge you see in the background. You know, I want to mention that we
I
are.
think we need to move a slide. I think we're.
No,
off one.
he's talking about himself. He's talking behind him.
Yeah.
Oh, that slide. Okay, sorry. I thought you.
Okay, so I think we have the right slide here.
Sorry, I'm going to stop. No, I mean, I'm going on mute.
Okay. So we have you know, we have made a lot of progress, you know, since our last meeting in August. You know, the engineering plans and specifications are complete, and we are developing the final construction contract package. It's going to be ready to advertise in July, August of this year. So, you know, we are putting everything to make sure that it's all complete and out for bids. On the utility relocation, since the last meeting we had, there's a lot of progress you may have noticed. On the expressway, a lot of work was done in last December, January, February, you know, March time, and you'll still see some lot of work happening there. We're relocating the water, electric, gas, telephone cable, and other utilities, and all this work is to clear the project footprint so that we can, you know, work in the middle of the expressway and construct the project. We expect the utilities work to be complete by 2023, which is probably around September is what we are targeting for this work to be complete. In terms of right of way, all the acquisition that's needed for us to construct the project is essentially complete. So we're working with some of the property owners on the compensation, and you know, we expect this also to be soon be completed. You know, I want to share the good news here. The project is fully funded for construction. You know, recently the Secretary for Transportation, California Transportation was here. The state of California Transportation Secretary was here, and we are excited to have this fund in place and ready for construction. Next slide, please. So these are some of the photos that we took during the underground construction. You may have noticed if you had driven by the Capital Expressway, these are all the underground PG&E work that happened a few months ago. These are, you know, we call it as vaults, and these are concrete big boxes where the conduits would come in, and PG&E would replace the old, relocate and replace the old cables with the new ones. You see here the yellow conduit or the pipe is for the gas relocation that we did. So like I said, these are all the ones that were in the footprint of the project, and it's all been moved out so that we can build the project in the middle of the expressway. Next slide, please. So I wanted to give you a photo simulation of how the bridge is built, so that you have a good understanding as we go forward with you know, how the project itself will be constructed. I want this group to understand, you know, as we go along during construction, as to, you know, how each part of the bridge construction is, you know, built. So on the left side is how the bridge is going to look at the median of Capital Expressway. You see, it's kind of a cross section. We have cut across the expressway, and you see at the bottom is the foundation. You know, you see those 6 vertical ones. They are called piles. These piles are driven into the ground, and so these are you know, supported. These are the ones that are supporting the column and the bridge. We have what's called the column, and you know, over once the column is constructed, the superstructure or the box girder bridge. We call it a box girder because you can see those 3 boxes built. So these are all built in several stages. This is construction that's going to happen over a period of 4.5 years. So this construction, the pile driving itself is roughly about 9 months of work. It's going to be at several locations. It's not going to be at one place. So as we start from one end to the other, so we'll have 2 crews working from both ends so that we can finish the project as soon as possible. So on the right side is how it looks on the Tully near Tully Road. You'll see that the bridge is onto the left side, or it's to the one side of the expressway. So this is where it's coming close to Eastridge station. So these are we call it as precast girders, and you have the same construction at the foundation level. You have the piles, you have the foundation or the pile cap, then you have the column, and then we have what's called the superstructure that is built with precast girders, and the bridge. The wiring you see on top, the poles and the wiring, those are part of the electrification system for the train. You may have noticed it, along the light rail line, that these are, the poles and electric wires, that support, electrifying the train. So we call it as catenary system or overhead catenary system. So we'll hear these kind of the terminology as we go forward in construction, as we give you regular updates on the project. So I want to go to the next slide and give you how we are planning to execute this project, right? So we are building this project in stages. So we have several stages of construction of the project. The very first stage is when we want to widen the outside of the expressway so that we have room in the middle to build the project. So what you see as roadway widening is where we're adding more of a pavement to the outside so that we can shift the traffic, the lanes of traffic we have right now to the right side, so that we make room in the middle for us to construct the project. So one of the things we would do in the very first stage would be we'll be driving some piles at several locations. This is we do what's called a pile testing program. So this is where we collect the data from the pile driving, like the noise and vibration, and the soil testing, kind of the soil resistance that the pile is providing, so that we can design the piles and go forward with carrying the piles for several locations at foundation. One of the things in the early stages, you will see some modifications to the traffic signal, and these are because we want to work here efficiently. We want to make sure that the traffic flow is as best as it can be in the construction. So we'll make some modifications to the signals, even shifting some of the signal heads so that we have room in the middle for construction. So one of the things in the stage one we are doing is we are closing one lane in each direction. So right now we have 4 lanes in each direction. It's going to be reduced to 3, so 3 in each direction. So in addition, there will be some off-peak lane closures. Some of the lanes at certain segments will be closed during off-peak hours. So which means from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. and sometimes at night or in the late evening, we will be closing the lane so that we can get this construction going. We will have some night work during this stage one. The enclosures, like I said, will happen during this night work. The second stage is where you will see more of intensity of construction that's happening. The first one was the pile driving I mentioned earlier. In the previous meetings, we have discussed about pile driving, the noise and vibration that is to be expected during this phase of construction. So we think it's going to take about 9 months to finish the pile driving. So each location, we have about 76 locations where we'll be driving piles. So each location, we have roughly about 30 to 35 piles. It's going to take about 5 days at one location. So we're not going to be at one place for 9 months, driving piles. So we're going to be moving, from one location to the other. So we will have two construction crews working, from both ends of the project, so that this work is done as efficiently and as quickly as possible. As you probably know, it's a 2.4 mile long project. So this work is going to happen at several locations as we go along. So the bridge construction, and once the foundation work is done, the next is the bridge construction, which is building the columns for the bridge, and then building the superstructure, and we call it as bridge box girder deck is what we call it. So that's where the top of the bridge is being built, and that is getting ready so to receive the light rail tracks and all the electrification systems work that has to happen. That's going to happen in the following stages. In the second stage, also we'll be working at storage station, getting the foundation area ready, and also at Eastridge. So this is all to receive the elevator structure. We have 3 elevators at the storage station, and those foundation work and will be getting ready for us to build the elevator structure. Just like in phase 1, stage 1, you'll see off-peak lane closures from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., maybe 1 lane in each direction. There will be night work. The reason being, the false work is what you see on the right side of the picture. This is how typically it looks. The false work is the support that is being built so that it can receive the superstructure of the bridge concrete structure. So since this requires a lot of heavy equipment and a wider area for construction, so this has to be done at night when we can close more than 1 lane. So that's why this work is being conducted at night. And also the same happens when once the formwork for the bridge construction is ready, then we will be also placing concrete at night, because it requires 2 lanes for us to close and then get this work done. It's more efficient getting this work done at night rather than it's going to be a lot of traffic inconvenience if we do it during the daytime. Same here, we'll have some off-peak lane closures during this stage. And we also expect some lane closures during the weekend. Next slide, please. The stage 3 of the construction will be in the 4th year of the project. So this is where we will be completing the Eastridge and the storage stations. Earlier in the stage 2, I talked about the beginning of the plaza construction. So in this stage, we'll be completing at Story. We have 3 elevator structure that'll be complete, as you can see on the right photo. We also, in this stage, we'll be installing the tracks and electrification system. So this stage is where you see less of the work at the ground level, but more work on the bridge level. So like I said, there'll be track installation and installation of poles for electrification system or the overhead catenary systems. They'll be working on train signals work. This will be also the stage where the pedestrian overcrossing. This is the steel double arch bridge you see on the right side of the photo that'll be installed. And so this is the bridge that is required to connect to the stairs and elevator to the platform level. And then, the traffic signal work will be happening. This is at the street level. This is the final traffic signal locations and work is going to be happening there. There'll be some drainage and planting work that's going to happen in the 4th year of the project. Just like the previous stages, there'll be lane closures as needed, and there'll be some weekend lane closures. The last 6 months would be, we want to restore this back, especially the pavement, and also we'll have some nice overlay of the whole project area so that it looks neat, and we'll have we'll have all the striping and everything that's going to be complete. We'll have some final touches to the landscaping and the signage that's required at the stations. The other important thing that's going to be happening is testing the rail. So once the tracks are in, and then when the electrification, the poles and the wires are all hung, so then we'll start running the trains for testing. So those would happen. We also engage CPUC at this time for safety runs, or we want before we can let the passengers on the train, we have to get this certified. We call it safety certification at the CPUC, just to make sure that everything's safe for public to ride this train. And also during the last 6 months, there will be what's called a rail activation, where our operations group will come in and start running the trains and get familiarized with the new line. So it's going to go hand in hand with CPUC safety certification and training to the operators on this one. And then so that will take about the last few months of the project, and then we'll be ready for running the trains for revenue. So the whole project, we're looking at somewhere around 4.5 years of construction. But as we go along, we'll be working closely with the group and letting you know the progress made and what to expect in the next few months. So with that, here is one of the simulation. Once the project is complete, you will see this is a simulation of the bridge near Tully Road. As you can see on the left side, it is coming down to the street level at Eastridge. Next slide, please. So I wanted to give you an overview of where we are on the schedule and funding. As you can see here, the yellow line. So we are getting ready, putting the contract package together for July time for advertisement. We intend to award this contract in December, and the construction will take about 4.5 to about 4 years and 9 months or so. So there's some that range for any unforeseen conditions. So and then, like I said earlier, we have all the funding for this project. It took a long time for us to get all this funded, and we are ready to go. We're very excited to start construction on this project. It has taken a couple of years to get all the money together, so that we can start the construction. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions anybody has.
I don't see any hands up. I could think we can, thank you, Ben. Oh, we're on the next slide. Anybody else wants to ask questions or comments? Or we'll just go to wrap up. Okay. On keeping involved and keeping up to date, I always share our board of directors meetings, whether or not we're on the agenda. And so we have a board of directors meeting on June 1st, and also the Eastridge to BART Policy Advisory Board. And Andreas, I'll come right back to you in just a second. So I did catch we want to keep you engaged on any progress updates with regards to the referral. Keep that on your radar. And like I said, I expect that might be discussed at the June 14th PAB, but I did, while Ben was doing his presentation, I put a reminder on my calendar to just email this group a reminder that the PAB is meeting on the 14th. And I should mention that both our board of directors and PAB meetings are back in person. They also do have a hybrid option, and we are physically meeting at the county offices and the chambers over on Heading. Okay, so Andre, go ahead.
Yeah, it's a question that I haven't really asked, but theoretically, when everything is said and done, how quickly would a passenger be able to, a transit user be able to go from East San Jose to, say, downtown San Francisco?
Ooh, I know it takes about 19 minutes from Eastridge to the Milpitas BART station. I do not know how long it takes to go on BART after that.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm thinking a faster way to downtown San Francisco, because this takes you BART East Bay, might really be picking up Caltrain at Diridon for San Jose.
Right.
That's I think that's what I would do. I think that would be the faster rate. I don't know. That's a good question. We should look at that and
Just
see
for
what,
anecdotally, Kathleen, I've taken that route, and BART can be just as fast as Caltrain, depending on which train you're on. So you're looking at basically an hour on BART to get into San Francisco.
okay.
And Caltrain's roughly the same unless you get on a baby bullet.
And that's going through the tube?
Yeah, it's
Oh,
actually
that's good to know.
fairly efficient.
Excellent. Thank you, Anthony.
Great, thank you.
And it looks like we have a question on the attendee. Colleen, I'm gonna unmute you. Go ahead.
I was going to comment and agree, except my experience is that is about 2 hours, but on the baby bullet, it's about an hour. So I'm going to say from Eastridge all the way into downtown San Francisco, it's probably about 2.5 hours. That's my experience, though.
Okay.
I'm just referring to the BART leg, not the light rail leg.
So I'm hearing that we should do a community field trip and test these theories and see which one's faster.
Good idea.
Okay.
I'll volunteer and report back.
Right? No, I'm volunteering. We're going to do this as a group, you guys, but we'll all go. Okay. Anyone else before I move over? And if something always comes to mind, you are welcome to contact us directly, and we can talk about that.
Sorry, Kathleen, it's Westcott. I do have a question.
Yeah.
A little bit in regards to Ven's really thorough presentation, which I really appreciated. Wondering what other sort of, I know there's community engagement, but Story and Capital has a lot of businesses around there. Has there been engagement with the local businesses and kind of small business representatives that are out there? And if not, that's a suggestion, but I'm assuming you've done that.
And in fact, right now, when you go out there, Story and Capital has a lot of work happening in front of the businesses. So David has been coordinating a lot of that. Sometimes we have to work in across the driveway, or maybe even temporarily close one. So we've been working closely with them. This is, and I just want to say, when we are doing this project, we're not we're in the middle of the expressway. We're not on the sidewalk.
Right.
This is not, I know a lot of people, you know, they think back on BRT. This is a lot different. However, we have been engaging with businesses because what I want people to make sure they understand too is when we are doing this and we have that the traffic impacts, they're going to make Capitol Expressway more congested.
Absolutely.
So my message is to make sure people know this so they can plan. Maybe they plan a different route or they leave earlier or later. I don't, you know, I would hate for people to be complaining that they're late to work all the time because of the construction. It is going to add time to the commutes. So that is one of my main concerns for the businesses. Also for, you know, we would want to make sure everybody knows about overnight shutdowns because some of the businesses might be having overnight deliveries, right? With the really large trucks, that might be their time. So yeah, we will be very engaged with them. And, you know, everything up for the past couple of years, it's been like, it's coming. Now it's real. It's like, okay, pay attention because it's real. And we're going to be able to start putting dates to these things.
Yeah. No, yeah, that sounds great to have kind of some more tangible info to disseminate. Wondering about also to partnering or working with some like a Latino business foundation who's pretty entrenched with a lot of these businesses on a regular basis, if they're able to kind of support since they're communicating pretty early and often, even along the story road corridor.
We would love to. We recently connected with Nathan. He's connected us to the Tully Road Business Association. I don't have any current connections with the Latino Business Association associated with any of the businesses on Capitol Expressway.
Yeah.
I know. I don't. If you know of one, there used to be the Story Road Business Association.
Yes.
I don't know if they're coming back or if that's being brought back to life. This is why I love this group because you can. This is where I learn about things.
Yeah, not sure too much. I do know that Jesus has worked with businesses along Story Road for a while now. So
Jesus
he has
Flores?
plenty. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Jesus Flores is the head of Latino Business Foundation. Just so yeah, I think it'll be great to make that connection.
We're working with him on another issue over on Alum Rock. So that's how I always think Jesus Alum Rock. So that's good to know. Thank you.
He's expanded. He's expanded.
That's cool. That's awesome because it needed to expand.
Yes.
Great. Thank you. Okay. Okay. I don't want to keep anybody long. I'm going to go ahead and go to the next slide after that. There's our contact information. And I'm showing you our sign up to subscribe for updates. Again, it's a great way to reach. Again, this is the one saying, I want to hear from you. Next door is you're going to hear from me anyway and hope you check your email and you get it. And then of course we have the mail and social media. I hope I see everybody at the art meetings. We'll be getting notices out. I think I'm going to do a save the date just to get it on people's calendars and then get the notices out probably end of July. And then we'll do Facebook postings as well and we'll have signage out. So I look forward to that. And then, like I said, in the fall, we want to really start, you know, all these presentations we've been giving and showing the displays, you know, we'll start. I want to do more really targeted. We've been doing a lot of overall kind of project, what to expect. I want to be able to start honing in like, okay, community, you know, we have a contractor on board and we're going to start on this day. And one of the first things you're going to see is, and start preparing everybody for that. Okay, so with that, I'm going to thank all of you for attending. And John, I did notice that you arrived, so thanks for coming. Good to see you.
Sorry, I was late.
It's okay. I was keeping tabs. Appreciate you coming, and I'm glad to get engaged with everybody again. And like I said, I did put a note on my calendar, literally a calendar item to send everybody just a reminder of the Policy Advisory Board meeting and definitely keep you up to date on other progress and how we move forward on other referrals for the area. Okay, this will be posted on the website. We're gonna have to clean up our ghost story talk at the first few minutes and post the rest of the meeting out. And I just want to thank all of you for attending this evening. Okay,
Thank you.
so-
Good night.
Thank you, Laura. Good night. I'm going to go ahead and end it. So I don't want to be rude. I want people to think I'm just cutting you off. So I'm going to end the meeting for all and wish you all a good evening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.